okay, you have probably a lot of bodies, so I like you. No, she's not going to say that, but she's going to go in her side of her head, and she may not even realize she's thinking this. This is why you shouldn't ask women what they prefer, because they don't even consciously realize what attracts them to a man. But what she will think subconsciously is, this guy seems to have a good deal of experience with women. Every girl I know knows this guy. Every girl I know has said that she knows a girl that slept with this guy. And so I know that if I were to get with this guy, he has the means and the capabilities to keep me satisfied. He has the means and the capabilities that other girls saw in him to keep them satisfied, or financially support for them, or emotionally support for them.
Body count.
I'm
so
sorry?
it's sleeping around, because 200 years ago, people weren't sleeping around. Men weren't hooking up with 300 bitches.
They actually were.
Way more.
Yeah, they were.
Way more.
There's a reason why only 40.
Have you ever read the Old Testament? Have you ever read any scripture? Concubines? That was super normal. So, and look, and the whole idea of men having this agency to only have one woman, that's fine, right? And that's a concept in Islam too. I understand the 4 wives, but it's actually recommended to have one wife if you can't handle 4. And more often than not, I'd say 95% of men in the world today cannot handle 4, especially in first world countries where that comes with some financial obligation. But there's something to be said, for the longest time in history, men have had multiple partners, and there was nothing ever frowned upon in regards to that. Again, look to old scripture, look to the Bible, look to the Quran. Concubinage was prevalent. It was a normal thing. So, and that wasn't frowned upon. That's just the way society ran. All of these things come from feminism and the rise in the 60s and the 70s. So we look at things a lot differently, aggressively differently than we ever looked at them for the last 1,000 years. All of these things are new concepts, right? And men sleeping around is one of them, or men having multiple partners.
% of men have procreated since the beginning of time versus like 90% of women have. The difference back then was like polygamy was like widely practiced because it was use of force. So that's not true.
Also, men can't be ran through.
I mean, yeah, men do the running.
Can
I
I
disagree.
say something?
What?
No, I'm
I
sorry.
disagree.
What are you saying?
No, look here. Listen, I don't think it's a brag for a guy to say he has 100 body count. I don't think it's definitely a brag for a woman, but I think that having a high body count, or as a guy, as a girl, is just a bad thing. I think that sex is reserved for intimate relationships, is reserved for marriage. That's my view. And so I actually sympathize with you that there should be a stigma associated with a high body count, but it should not exclusively be applied to women.
There's a big issue in that framework. And I'm sure many of you guys already understand the analogy, the key and the lock and the whole thing. But it just simply boils down to the fact that men and women are absolutely not the same. So the same rules don't apply for us. And look in society. The men that have the most experience with women are regarded as the coolest. They have the most clout. They usually have the most fame in their local area. They have money. They have status. They have game. They have charisma. They have aura. They have class. And those are the guys that sleep with most of the girls. And so when a girl sees that, that is an indirect sentence to her. So for a girl in her vetting process, it's always subconscious, which means that a girl's not going to look at a guy and go, okay, you have probably a lot of bodies, so I like you. No, she's not going to say that, but she's going to go in her side of her head, and she may not even realize she's thinking this. This is why you shouldn't ask women what they prefer, because they don't even consciously realize what attracts them to a man. But what she will think subconsciously is, this guy seems to have a good deal of experience with women. Every girl I know knows this guy. Every girl I know has said that she knows a girl that slept with this guy. And so I know that if I were to get with this guy, he has the means and the capabilities to keep me satisfied. He has the means and the capabilities that other girls saw in him to keep them satisfied, or financially support for them, or emotionally support for them. And even on top of that, there is this spiritual aspect to it, where if a man is able to sleep with many women, and by the way, I will tell you right now, from a religious framework, that's, bro,
haram.
I'm not negating that. That's 100% haram. And I'm not advocating for it. I'm just telling you what the modern framework tells about this stuff. And it's that if you have a lot of experience with women, it's only going to gain you aura points. And by the way, you don't walk around and say, I've got 100 body count, or I've slept with this many women. It's kind of implied in the way you move, and it's implied in the way people perceive you. And if you give off that perception, it's probably because it's true. And that's what attracts women to men. So it's not this whole like show off. And I think Fishback kind of got the wrong idea, where it's like, if you sleep with 100 men, or sorry, pause. Wow, pause. I don't have a pause on my soundboard, but that was really crazy. If you sleep with 100 women, you're some G, you're the coolest guy in the block. And it's like, no, that means the guy is probably very competent. That means the guy is probably well established it's very hard to do something like that. So, and even 100 bodies is an extreme example. These guys are in Miami, and so everything is magnified. But even a guy who's in his 20s and he has 30, 40 bodies, that shows that the guy understands women, and he's probably able to maintain and entertain and keep a woman long term without her being dissatisfied. So, and people will argue, oh, if you can get into a girl's pants and you can get her in the bedroom, that doesn't mean you can satisfy her long term. Yeah, it does, because you did the hard part already. That's actually the hard part. The hard part is getting a girl to not think you're some creepy, scary ass guy who's going to do something to them. Once you do something to them, once you drop their guard and they actually trust you, from then it's just kind of straddling the line and, giving them some, pulling back, hot, cold, being in a relationship, holding frame. And if you choose the right girl, it'll last. But ultimately, having a high body count is, unfortunately, this is the way society is framed it. I didn't choose these rules. These are the rules that were dealt with, and so I play accordingly, and I explain this accordingly and as coherently as I can. Experience with women equals more box. It's just, unfortunately, a really simple equation that a lot of people let go over their head. And for all my Christians and Muslims out there, don't think that this means you need to tarnish your religion. Don't go sleep with a bunch of women. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you need to be able to effectively differentiate the modern dating marketplace as well as adhering to your religion, and not necessarily combine the two, because that would be contradictory, but just be aware of both realities existing, and you can play by whatever rule set you want. But always understand, regardless of your religious framework, you try to get into a relationship with a girl and put all of her past past her, if you even know her past, if you grew up in the same town with her or whatever, don't let your religion be the first thing that's going to tell you, I'm going to trust this girl. Look at it objectively first. And that's even if she's religious. Are you going to date inside of the mosque, or marry inside of the mosque rather? Are you going to get married inside the church? These are all questions you have to ask yourself before you really entangle yourself into a long-term relationship. Why? Because if you guys ever split, she's taking everything with her. And even in the slightest sense of things, if you guys split, that's wasted time and that's damage for you. And so it's important to kind of separate and differentiate those things without disbanding or effectively violating your religious law.